Welcome to our Recap Plus channel with me, Matthew. Today we will watch a recap movie called Blackout, released in 2022. This is a spoiler content video. So please turn on the subtitle and let's start the story. The movie begins with the protagonist, John Kane, running with a suitcase containing sensitive information about prominent figures involved in international crimes. In the process, he is chased by a group of goons, and Kane suffers a terrible car accident while trying to secure the documents. He wakes up in a hospital near Mexico, remembering nothing of his past or how he got to the hospital. As Kane struggles to remember who he is, he meets Anna, a woman who claims to be his wife. Ethan McCoy, a DEA agent, visits a burned-out house supposedly belonging to Kane, a 5-year undercover agent. Ethan is furious and orders his men to find Kane as soon as possible. Back at the hospital, Kane's brain has suffered neuropathic failure and memory loss, making it difficult to perceive reality. He cannot even remember his parents or his name. Meanwhile, Eddie, a well-known cartel leader, arrives claiming to be Kane's friend. Eddie does not reveal his true identity and says he will do anything to return Kane's memory. Kane listens attentively but wonders if they can be trusted. In fact, shortly afterward, we find out that Eddie is at the hospital to find out from Kane where the suitcase is. Eddie threatens the doctor to kill his family if he does not restore Kane's memory soon. Returning to Kane, his wife Anna helps him eat and tries to restore his memory by telling him about things they used to do together. Anna wants to know what happened and how he ended up in the hospital, but the problem is that he does not remember. Soon after, the nurse arrives and helps him go to the bathroom when the doctor returns to inject him with a dose of an unknown substance. His instincts work proactively because his military training gets the adrenaline flowing in his system, helping him remember how to survive. Time is running out, so the cartel is on Kane's heels because there is sensitive information in the air. Kane begins to struggle against the nurses and gets out of bed, confused. Kane and Anna are about to leave the hospital. He asks her to reveal what is going on and says he does not trust her. Soon after, a man gets into the elevator with them and receives a call. The stranger reports that the two targets are in the elevator, at which point Kane beats him up. Downstairs, Kane continues to fight Eddie's henchmen. Shortly thereafter, he begins to have brief memory flashbacks. Eddie makes the elevator stop, so the two are forced to find a way out. Kane calls Eddie from a henchman's phone and asks what he needs. Eddie orders him to hand over the suitcase and not to make things worse. Later, Eddie tries to find Kane through the security cameras. Kane forces and orders Anna to reveal everything. She says he was part of the cartel and worked together with Eddie. Although he has awakened to this reality, he cannot believe that it is associated with his true self. Gradually, Kane begins to recall short moments from the past, but he still cannot remember Anna's face. Shortly thereafter, Eddie's henchmen are again on Kane's trail, but the last one manages to cap them off easily. In his room, John finds his papers and a phone number. He takes all the necessary tools, including a knife and a lantern, but soon after, a man approaches from behind and injects him with a substance. Nevertheless, Kane manages to get to his feet and begins to fight the stranger. Eventually, he defeats him, but more henchmen arrive, whom he manages to beat while still being quite weak. He goes out into the hallway, and soon after, a concerned nurse arrives. He says to go to the man he beat up in the next room. A moment later, another of Eddie's men arrives and tries to stop Kane, but he prevails and manages to escape into the hospital lab. The henchman follows him and pulls out a gun. The two begin hand-to-hand combat, and with some difficulty, Kane still manages to defeat the enemy by cutting off his collarbone with a broken plate. Kane finds a satellite phone in his pocket and tries to escape. The chief doctor arrives and promises to help Kane, who is afraid and does not know if he can trust them. But the doctor says he is fed up with these criminals and is on his side, having full confidence in Kane. He tells him that he is the only one who can take care of Eddie, who works closely with General Montillo, the head of the army in Mexico, and whose case Kane is holding. With everything tied up and slowly beginning to make sense, Kane keeps seeing a woman sitting on a couch on a beach at sunset. Eddie and his men discover the dead bodies of the henchmen and order that all exits from the hospital be closed. Kane wanders down the corridor and enters a room. He uses the SAT phone to contact the number he found on the slip of paper in his wallet. McCoy is surprised to hear his voice and says he has been looking for him for a couple of days. McCoy tries to have the call traced, but Kane knows better than to trust anyone at this time, so he keeps it short. He looks around, and the hospital he is in is not unfamiliar to him. He scans the room and his surroundings and finds a fake wall. When a piece falls off, he discovers a new room that leads to a secret chamber bathed in red light. Naked women are straining and storing drugs, weapons, and ammunition lying around, and even exotic animals in cages. Kane climbs upstairs through wires connected to the elevator and meets Anna. Kane tells her about what he found, and Anna does not seem surprised, saying that even hospitals have taxes to pay. Kane insists that she tell him the truth about what is going on. Anna tells him that he has infuriated a lot of people who want him dead and also reveals that he and she were together. Anna discloses that he and Eddie used to work together and were supposed to deliver a suitcase to a powerful general, but Kane suddenly disappeared, and the suitcase was with him. Eddie's henchmen arrive again, and a violent fight breaks out. The pair runs to the next floor up the stairs while other henchmen follow them. They find a room to hide, and Kane again gets a call from McCoy. The man reveals to him that he has been an undercover DEA agent for 5 years now. In reality, he is not a narco trafficker working with Eddie but is just an undercover agent who had to work with Eddie to get access to that suitcase. The car accident was an event that no one anticipated and thus accelerated the timeline. After they close the call, McCoy orders his men to find Kane immediately and get him out of the hospital. Meanwhile, Anna returns with bandages and treats her beloved husband's wounds. A fragment of John's memory begins to return in flashes. He does not react or respond but absorbs in silence. One memory is of a woman sitting in front of a sunset. He is not sure if this is the blonde woman he claims to be his wife. With the entire operation hanging by a thread, Kane remains suspicious and continues to look for a way out of the hospital as he battles Eddie's cronies who are roaming the hospital floors trying to kill him. After Kane emerges from his momentary hiding place, he moves silently through the ventilation shaft along with Anna. Suddenly, his phone starts ringing, drawing the attention of Eddie and his men. The henchmen start firing at the vent relentlessly, but then Eddie orders them to stop because he needs him alive. At one point while moving through the vent, Kane collapses into a church in one of the hospital rooms. Diego, one of Eddie's men, appears and points his gun at him. Diego says he is a traitor because he stole the money and now the suitcase. At that moment, Kane remembers transferring $20 million to a bank account. Kane turns the gun towards Diego and orders him to call Eddie. After kicking Diego and throwing him out of the window, Kane holds his phone to tell Eddie to meet him on the roof. Eddie agrees and tells his men to prepare to kill Kane on a signal. Eddie's right-hand man says he will put snipers on the other nearby building. Meanwhile, DEA board members decided to burn down the hospital. On the other hand, McCoy asks for time because he wants to get Kane out of there. The other members tell McCoy 6 hours to save Kane. In the meantime, Eddie meets with Kane on the roof, and the two converse, trying to find a middle ground. Kane confesses that he killed Diego, an important friend to Eddie, and the latter becomes saddened. Eddie asks him to remember where he put the suitcase because now they are all in big trouble. As Kane is about to remember where the suitcase is, Eddie mistakenly gives the signal to his men to shoot. Bullets begin to fly, and the two of them take cover. Eddie says he is sorry things ended this way because he has done many things for him. For example, during a meeting between top cartel members, the top leaders wanted Kane dead, but Eddie tried to defend him, though in vain. Nevertheless, Kane does not stay to listen and jumps from the roof. He has to get out of the Mexican hospital and calls McCoy, who tries to find a way to get him out of there. Cleverly, McCoy tells him that he knows where the suitcase might be. The truth is that Kane's memory cannot be traced back to the time he entered the hospital. Since Kane assumes the case is out of his reach, he has to get Eddie out of his way. McCoy tells him that he will try to save him but also warns him that the DEA will set the entire building on fire and blow it up. The best thing to do is to go out to the east entrance where the sun rises at dawn. Kane must plan his escape and take his wife Anna with him. Meanwhile, the doctors and nurses try to escape but are quickly taken hostage by Eddie's men. In the process, one of the henchmen searches for Kane but is brutally killed by Anna. Then, Eddie, through a microphone, tries to lure Kane to him, threatening to kill the hostages. When Kane has a moment to think about what he might do next, the woman comes to him to tell him that she works for the CIA. Anna tells him that she cannot do it alone and they must work together, which angers him. He takes the rifle and orders her to stay put while he goes to settle the score with Eddie for the last time. With a nurse in danger, he contacts Eddie by radio and tells him to meet alone. Eddie orders all hostages to be killed if Kane does not return in 10 minutes. Kane meets Eddie, and the two rivals try to kill each other. Soon after, the doctor arrives and rescues the hostages by injecting Eddie's man with poison. When Eddie delivers the final blow to kill Kane, someone fires 10 bullets into him. It is Kane's wife who is carrying the case. At that moment, Kane sees the woman's face in his vision. It is the woman he is with now, his wife. She slowly helps him up after he kisses her, and they have a moment. They manage to get out of the hospital, and McCoy joins them in the car. McCoy identifies the contents of the suitcase, and somehow Kane is still not quite convinced of his true intentions. After McCoy tells him that the sensitive information contained in the suitcase will never see the light of day, Kane feels protective of the suitcase with Anna, his wife, holding a gun to his face. He feels momentarily betrayed when the car driver tries forcefully to pull the suitcase. McCoy admits he is a spy and works both sides. In a split second, everyone's guns come out, and suddenly everything seems out of place. A second later, Anna shoots the 2 DEA agents sitting behind them and then the driver, leaving McCoy and Kane alive. She has never been on anyone's side but Kane's. Kane shoots McCoy and gets out of the car, leaving him to die. Kane and Anna flee with the suitcase full of names, faces, and institutions involved in international organized crime. To watch more video like this, click on the videos on your screen, and don't forget to let me know how you feel about today's video in the comments down below. And at last I will say stay safe and stay healthy. See you next videos.